Welcome back everybody, Matt the Man here. So I got to see Thor Love and Thunder yesterday, or I like to call four for Thor. So, this is 5 years since the last Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, came out in 2017. This is also the first ever Marvel movie to get a fourth movie for an individual character. Yes, we've had 4 Avengers movies, but this is the first movie for one of the characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is really interesting that Thor would be the one to get the 4th movie. I think 11 years ago when the first Thor movie came out, no one would have thought, oh yeah, he'll get 4 movies over all the other Avengers. More than Iron Man, more than Captain America. Even though we are getting another Captain America 4. But it's not Chris Evans, it's going to be Anthony Mackie coming back to taking up the mantle of Captain America. And yeah, we're going to get a Tom Holland Spider-Man 4 sooner rather than later. I wouldn't be surprised if at Comic-Con they announced Spider-Man 4. So, that's coming. But this is the first movie with the number 4 designated to it. Also, let me get off right off the bat. I've never been a particular fan. I mean, I've enjoyed Thor movies, even Thor The Dark World. I like that one more than I think most people. I think the first hour of that one is actually really good. And then the last hour kind of falls off. But, I've enjoyed the Thor movies, but I have never thought the Thor films are like the upper echelon of the other Marvel movies. Now, I like Chris Hemsworth a lot. I think Chris Hemsworth has really become one of the stronger actors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you just look at what he did in Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame, I mean, especially in Infinity War and Endgame, he is by far the best actor in both of those movies. Some of those scenes he had, like with Rocket Raccoon, one of the best moments in all of the MCU. His arc, his tragic arc, is great. And then, like I said, at Comic-Con in 2019, it's been a long time since we've had Comic-Con. First they brought out Elizabeth Olsen, and then she's going to be co-starring with Benedict Cumberbatch in Doctor Strange 2. But then, Taika Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok, came out and announced someone else will be taking up the mighty hammer of Thor. And no one knew this, it was a shock to everybody. Natalie Portman walks out and grabs the hammer. And that was a shock, not because the way that we've seen Natalie Portman in the Marvel movies. She played Jane in Thor 1 and Thor 2. That wasn't the shock. The shock was after Thor 2, Natalie Portman didn't want to do anything, didn't want to have anything to do with Marvel anymore. A lot of people don't know that originally the director of Thor The Dark World was Patty Jenkins, who went off and did Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2. Natalie Portman liked Patty Jenkins' story for Thor 2, and that's one reason why she was so excited to do Thor 2. And then Marvel decided to go in a different direction, and Patty Jenkins left, and Natalie Portman wanted to leave, but she was under contract and couldn't. So she really didn't care about doing Thor 2. She just did it for contract reasons. And that's why you haven't seen her in any other Marvel movie up until now. That's why, like, in Age of Ultron, when they're like, where's Jane? And they're like, oh, she's off doing science stuff. In reality, it was, oh, we couldn't get Natalie Portman back because she's mad how he dealt with Patty Jenkins on Thor 2. But somehow they obviously sat down with her and maybe apologized, I don't know. But we got Natalie Portman back for this new Thor movie. And I'm a fan of Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman is one of my favorite actresses. I mean, you go back to all the way back as a child star in Leon the Professional. Then you go to, like, Heat. She played, who was it, Al Pacino's daughter in that. Then also you get, now, my generation remembers her as, Padme Amidala, Padme Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker's girlfriend / wife in the prequels. Then you go to, like, V for Vendetta, Closer, the movie she won her Academy Award for, Black Swan. Then she followed that up with Jackie, where she played Jackie Kennedy and got nominated again for another Academy Award. Then she was also in that sci-fi film, Annihilation, a few years ago. Natalie Portman can do it all. Even her romantic comedy she did with Ashton Kutcher back in 2011, No Strings Attached. That was fine. That was good. She can do drama, she can do action, she can do romance, she can do comedy. She can do drama. I think I've done that drama already. She can do it all. And then you add on top of this movie, you got Christian Bale, who hasn't done a comic book movie in 10 years, since The Dark Knight Rises. And he's playing the villain. That was a huge plus. Then they announced Russell Crowe was going to be in this movie, my favorite actor in Hollywood. Like, come on. You guys are giving me, like, everything I want in a comic book movie. Natalie Portman, Christian Bale, Russell Crowe. I mean, come on. But anyway, so like I said, I was looking forward to this movie. But let's get into the review. One is, of course, Chris Hemsworth. Even though they've gone to him being more of the funny Thor, rather than the dramatic, tragic, sad Thor. But he's still good, and like I said, the best part about this movie, in terms of his performance, is his chemistry with Natalie Portman is actually rock solid this time. Unlike Thor 1 and Thor 2, they really didn't have that great chemistry. Yes, both very good actors, but the chemistry was not there. And we see that in a lot of comic book movies, They try to get someone who at least somewhat has some chemistry with the other actor, but most of the time they don't. And then they're not making a romantic movie here. They're making a comic book movie. Yes, there is some romance, but that is not the main part of a comic book movie. So, that's normally the part that normally is always kind of like the drawback. The chemistry between, superhero and love interest doesn't always work. But I'm telling you, in this movie, the chemistry between Thor and Jane Foster finally works. Now, it might be because this movie is more of a comedy. There's a lot more humor in this movie, so maybe, like I said, Natalie Portman is good. Natalie Portman is good at being the bubbly, funny, energetic girl. And she gets to be like that a lot as Thor. So when you get that, and we know that Chris Hemsworth is funny. So when you blend those together, you're going to have two people that do look like they have chemistry. And that was one of the best parts about it. Yay, we finally get to see Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman have chemistry. Next, obviously, Natalie Portman. I think Natalie Portman is one of the best actresses working in Hollywood, and I'm glad they were able to get her back for this movie. She's great as the mighty Thor. Back when we saw Annihilation, Portman put on some muscle. I don't look too bad myself. But in this movie, she really put on the muscle. I mean, you look at her and you go, oh my god. If I saw you in the gym, I would be terrified. Just walked up to you. So she put on the muscle. She has great chemistry with Chris Hemsworth. Then in the other side of her story, if a lot of you don't know, in the comic books, The Mighty Thor, Jane is suffering. It has cancer. She's dying from cancer, stage 4, and actually the more time she becomes Thor, the more the cancer drains her body. So as long as, she's strong as Thor, but on the other side, the cancer is just eating away at her. And we see that side of that in the movie, and once again, Natalie Portman pulls that off too. Very good performance. Then we get into one of the best actors in Hollywood. I don't care what you think of him as his Batman voice. Christian Bale is the reason to see this movie. Even if I thought this movie was horrible, which I don't, Christian Bale is worth the price of admission ticket. Christian Bale is the MVP of this movie. His acting in this is so good. It's unbelievable. And you know what? He is scary. This dude is frightening. I mean, Christian Bale really plays a scary villain in this movie. Now, a lot of people are criticizing that Christian Bale's great, but he feels like he's in a completely different movie. His villain is so dark and so evil and scary. And then you got all this humor on the other side with Thor that they don't blend well. And, I'm going to get into that in a minute here, but as far as Christian Bale goes, he's excellent. Which is Christian Bale, of course. But Christian Bale really is the MVP of this movie. Like, if you go in for any other reason, you're going to walk out talking about Christian Bale. The next thing is the cinematography and visuals. This movie is visually beautiful to look at. Very bright colors. Kind of like Thor Ragnarok, but probably even more. When they go see Zeus, so bright, the lightning bolt, the city, and then we got another scene later on where it's all in black and white with a little color here and there. Only again, visually, this movie is visually stunning to look at. Amazing, I thought this movie was well paced, less than 2 hours. Not normally for a Marvel movie, or they are over 2 hours. This was a little bit under 2 hours. Great pace. Humor. This movie is very funny. And here's the thing. Unlike a lot of Marvel movies I have complained about, like Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Black Panther, even the last Thor, Thor Ragnarok, that they will have a serious moment and then cut into it something funny. And it loses that moment of seriousness or drama or emotion. And it's just like you just ruined the scene. You have this really great moment, character moment, and then you just cut it with humor. And it doesn't work. Marvel has been doing that a lot lately. But for some reason in this movie, there's a lot of humor, but there's a lot of drama. And the difference is this time, the humor is the humor. The drama is the drama. The drama doesn't happen and then we get intercut with humor. It's not like that. It's humor, okay, we get funny scenes. And then we get dramatic scenes. But they're not crisscrossing, and making this weird, uneven feel to a scene. And that's what I enjoyed. But I didn't mind the humor this time. But I also like we still had those moments of drama, emotion, and we let them play out. Then, one thing I really like is the parallel between Jane Foster's story and Gore. Gore is a tragic character. He lost his family, he loses his daughter. He's like a lot of humans, and that's what I really liked about this movie. We all, and I think they should have gone further with this. I think this movie should have been maybe a little bit more serious, because it's dealing with such serious subject matters. Cancer on one side, and the other side is very, very real for almost every human being on Earth. And even Thor has a moment in the movie of, I looked up to Zeus, and Zeus isn't the god I thought he was. And Gore is this human being who has prayed and prayed to the gods, and the gods have not helped him out at all. And it's like, what is the point of praying to you? What is the point of praying to someone who doesn't help anyone? Who doesn't do what we are trained to think that, oh God, he's all great and powerful and mighty, and oh yes, he does everything right. You do not want to know my opinion on that one. A lot of people will not like my opinion on that. Just take it from my own life, and you would understand. Or you can ask my mother. You would say, I know his opinion. So yeah, when I say, when people go to church and people pray all the time, I want to say, well, what are you praying to? The dude up there ain't helping you. He's never going to help you. And I love how they use that in this movie, here's this guy who wants his daughter to stay alive. She's malnourished, she's slowly getting sick, and she's dying, and this God that Christian Bale's praying to isn't helping. And he finally comes, in person to this God, and is like, why are you not helping my daughter? Why are you not helping? I pray to you. You don't seem to care. You don't seem to want to do anything to help me or my family. You'd rather just let them die. And it's like, good point. Why are we spending our time on Earth praying to you more than we do most things, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter? That is a very interesting topic that I wish they did explore more. But getting back to what I was also talking about so Gore gets all this, stuff going through his body that's making him more and more evil. While Jane, and also more powerful, while Jane has this cancer going through her body, and it's making her sicker and sicker and weaker and slowly dying. And I thought the parallel in a way of, well, maybe not the parallel, but the juxtaposition of one person is having all this evil stuff in his body, which is making him more evil and powerful, while this other person does have this shitty, horrible, disease, or whatever you want to call it, cancer in her body, and is slowly killing her. Interesting. And I think they could have explored that a little bit more in this movie. I think I enjoyed the humor, but I will admit, I wish they focus more on the serious stuff and the fundamentals and the, you know, the interesting themes of here. Like I think you had Thor go see Zeus, and Zeus ends up being this Luth, kind of like a homophobic, homoerotic god. A little. I'll admit, I wasn't too big on Zeus. But even though when Thor and the other gods in this arena start chanting Zeus, 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 I gotta admit, I had a moment of Maximus, Maximus, Maximus. Because then here comes Russell Crowe as Zeus, and I'm like, okay, that made me smile. Even though I was thinking of Gladiator, but still, you hear Zeus, 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 and you see Russell Crowe come out. And okay, I know what you were doing there. Gladiator moment. No, I enjoyed that moment. But yeah, it goes back to the fundamentals of, you know, you're the gods that you pray to, the God that you look up to, isn't all what he seems. Isn't the hero you thought he was. You know, they say don't ever meet your heroes. They'll probably disappoint. Well, that's what they were basically going here. Like, you know, the God that you pray to is going to disappoint you. He's not going to do anything for you. And I thought that was very interesting. And I wish they tackled that a little bit more. Because that also could have been an interesting thing for maybe someone younger who looked up to Thor and realized Thor isn't the god of thunder that little boy or little girl thought he was. Because of all the tragedy he's been through. I think they could have really explored that between Zeus, Thor, and Gore. Zeus, Thor, and Gore. I'm not going to say that fourth one. I think people will know where that one's going. Zeus, Thor, Gore. You know, my main thing was, you know, we were all looking forward to the Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Asgardians, showing up. And I'll let you know right now, the Guardians of the Galaxy are maybe in the movie, maybe 10 minutes, maybe. And it's also not that well done. The writing, the dialogue for the Guardians wasn't done by James Gunn, so it seems off. And like they really didn't do anything. Not to mention, I thought they kind of blew through the whole fat Thor getting back to normal Thor. I wish they could have had the entire first act dealing with the Guardians and Thor getting back to normal. You know, from fat bod to Thor bod. But no. So, the Guardians was a little bit of a, disappointment for me. I like Valkyrie and Ragnarok. She had a great arc. But here I think they cut out a lot of her scenes because even in the trailer they had a lot more scenes with her. And I feel like they had an arc for her character in this movie. And they just said, nope, let's just bring it down to here. So I thought she was kind of wasted. Yeah, this is the other thing. So we find out that Jane has cancer. But they don't, now I'm not saying they need to give an explanation of how did she get the cancer, because people just develop cancer. But here's the thing. What they could have done was back in Thor the Dark World, when Jane has it was the red Infinity Stone, the ether, they called it, that was in her body in Thor the Dark World. And they had to find a way to get it out of her. Because no human should have that in their body, or else they would die. So, which would have been interesting if, yes, they got the ether out in Thor the Dark World, But because of all that, because that thing, that stone, was in her system, in her body, it didn't kill her, but it set off a reaction that destroyed maybe her lung, or maybe her kidneys, maybe something else that ignited the cancer, which would have been a lot better because then it would have tied back to Thor the Dark World, the last movie we saw with Jaden. It would have made Thor feel worse that, you know, I put her through that in Thor the Dark World, and now she's dying of cancer. I think they could have, which would have made the second film, Thor, stronger, just like in Endgame when we had Thor go back in time, and he sees his mother again, and it kind of ends up being a very strong scene that actually makes Thor the Dark World a little bit better. Just a little bit. So yeah, I think they missed out on that. And I wish we had more of Christian Bale. He was so good in every scene he's in, but I would have loved to see a little bit more of him. Yeah, come on, it's Christian Bale. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I might be in the minority here. I didn't hate the movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought the dramatic moments worked. I thought the chemistry between Thor and Jane worked. Natalie Portman was great. Christian Bale was great. So, you know, is it the best Marvel movie? No. Is it better than Doctor Strange in my opinion? Yes. Is it better than the Eternals? Yes. Better than Black Widow? I thought so. So, like I said, I'm gonna do a video this coming week. It's probably gonna be like an hour long or whatever of what is going on with Marvel in Phase 4. What are the problems? Why are we just getting too much of stuff between the movies and TV? So that's going to be a whole podcast. Looking back on Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. But anyway, I would probably give this movie a 4 out of 5. That's my opinion. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I like seeing Natalie Portman, Christian Bale back or in it. The visuals were great. The humor I liked. The action was good. The dramatic stuff worked for me. Gore ended up being a strong villain, even though I wish we had more of him. So overall, 4 out of 5. We got one more Marvel movie coming out at the end of the year. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So we'll see how that goes. But until then, Matt the Bat. And you know where I'm at.